Welcome to the Nature of Things. I'm David Suzuki. These days we hear a lot about high technology and its impact on our lives, and computers are being used more and more in different areas. They're being used in the world of dance and special effects in filmmaking. We'll find out about that and more.
Step by step, they're dancing into permanent memory. Every movement can now be recorded and recalled electronically. Follow the moving Periscope into the world of special effects. Explore territories inaccessible to the ordinary movie camera. High in the Himalayas, a unique hospital is financed by Canadian dollars and run by Canadian doctors.
North American mountain ranges like the Rockies are spectacular and wonderful for climbing and hiking, but you don't find people living up there year in and year out. It's different in Asia. High up in the mountainsides of the Himalayas, people eke out a meager existence in a breathtaking but inhospitable setting. In the fabled kingdom of Nepal, the legendary Sherpas, known for their great strength and courage, struggle to survive against malnutrition, disease, and accidents. Fortunately, they have a great friend in Sir Edmund Hillary, the conqueror of Mount Everest. Thanks to his efforts and aid from Canada, a dedicated medical team is delivering health care to people living near the roof of the world.
In a Himalayan valley, 4,000 meters above sea level, there is the world's highest hospital, and Canadian dollars pay the cost of running it. In one of the most spectacular settings on Earth, it serves a remarkable people, the Sherpas. The Khumbu Valley lies in Nepal, a small kingdom nestled between northern India and China. The only way to get around here is on foot. That's how the Sherpas reached Nepal centuries ago, from Tibet, when they fled across the world's loftiest mountain range. They tackled high-altitude living with resourcefulness. They planted what crops they could, they bred and hybridized yaks, and they supplemented their meager agriculture by setting up an enterprising trade between Nepal and Tibet. The hospital is in the Sherpa village of Kundi. It was built by the first man to conquer Everest, Sir Edmund Hillary. Its operating budget comes from Canada. Money raised by the Sir Edmund Hillary Foundation of Canada is matched 3-to-1 by CIDA, the Canadian International Development Agency.
I think we should continue the same today.
The current medical staff consists of a young married couple from southern Ontario. Dr. Penny Dawson and Dr. Jamie Uhrig, both graduates of McMaster. This woman, unlike most here, chose to have her baby at the hospital rather than at home. As a girl, she might well have died of pneumonia without the antibiotics she received here. The hospital was originally staffed from Hillary's homeland, New Zealand. Penny and Jamie are the first Canadian doctors here. They have to be prepared for almost anything, including madness.
I don't want him saying that stuff here.
No. Lama kukura na bolna. No.
This patient became so violent, It took 12 people to get him here by yak from his nearby village.
Nawanish is well known to us. He's about a 50-year-old Tibetan immigrant who lives about an hour and a half walk from Kundi, and he's had several psychotic episodes in the past. Unfortunately, part of his belief is that the local Lama here is running away with his wife, which is a little bit difficult for us living in the same village to try and quiet down that belief. So his family knows now that we can help him, that we have strong medicine, and they've brought him here for about the 5th time to try and help him.
He's calmed down by an antipsychotic drug and installed in the inpatient ward. The doctors can keep in touch with village life just by looking out their kitchen window.
We can see who's visiting who. We can tell probably who's sick. There's a lot of people going in and out of a house or not going in and out of a house. We can sometimes hear drums and know that there's some religious thing going on in someone's home. We can keep a good eye on the pulse of the village from here.
When men go off trekking, a little bit of juniper is burned to provide for a good journey. And so if we see juniper smoke going up in front of someone's house, we know that one of our neighbors is going off trekking.
Sherpas are devout followers of Tibetan Buddhism. Belief in reincarnation, the wheel of life, brings a fatalistic view of death and disease. Every family who can afford it has a private chapel. Daily rituals pay tribute to some of the sacred figures in the Buddhist pantheon. Among them, one associated with establishing Buddhism in Tibet, Guru Rinpoche, Precious Master. Many of their customs have nourished the Sherpas in spirit for centuries, but some have been harmful to their bodies. Their traditional diet creates an iodine deficiency, which in the past made goiter a common ailment here. There is no iodine in the local water or in the Tibetan rock salt these people have always used. But far more serious than goiter, children born to iodine-deficient mothers are often mentally retarded, deaf and dumb, cretins. Once, almost a quarter of the children born here were retarded. Now, the hospital is injecting pregnant women with iodized oil to protect the babies from the deficiency. Excess iodine is excreted in the urine, and since night soil is the major fertilizer here, the iodine gets into the Sherpa's mainstay, potatoes, and thus into the whole community. Potatoes are planted in late April or early May, and after the crop is in, it's time for Osho, a festival procession that encircles the twin villages of Kundi and Kumjung, and all the fields in between. This annual march around the perimeter of the community marks the formation of a magical boundary, protecting the fields from any evil that might bring crop failure. At each of several stops, the people burn a little juniper and turn to their sacred mountain, Kumbila, whose spirit they implore to protect the crops. They also drink a little chang, homemade beer. Later in the day, the procession finishes up near the hospital. Its main participants are the village guardians. This is their last official act, and soon next year's guardians will be appointed. That evening, proceedings continue in one of the village homes. Traditional songs and dances, and plenty of traditional beer. The Sherpas have never allowed anyone to climb their sacred kumbila. Otherwise, they welcome outsiders and outside aid. Canada is their leading benefactor, having devoted over $500,000 to them, mostly for medical facilities and schools. The hospital has been a Canadian responsibility since 1976. Doctors sign on here for a 2-year stint. They learn Nepalese, but when a patient speaks only Sherpa, the translator is Mingma, one of the hospital's 3 permanent assistants.
What's this Mingma? Burn? An old burn? Or was some Tibetan medicine?
The scar is a memento of a local medicine man's folk remedy for lung disease, which is very common here. And little wonder. All the houses lack chimneys. By local superstitions, chimneys might let in evil spirits, and some evil spirits cause disease.
Sometimes it's hard for us to follow how a Sherpa is understanding the disease that they have. For example, skin sores, visible problems on the skin, impetigo. People believe that has come to them because they have angered a lu, a water spirit. And they don't mind coming to us, and we can discuss with them that in our view, the disease has been caused by a germ, that what they have can be treated by our medicine, and it will kill a germ that's causing this illness. People seem to accept that our germ theory, our Western view of it, and yet to them they still think, why was it me? Why did the lu or the water spirit get angry with me so that I developed the skin infection?
This is a local lawa, or witch doctor. A young patient will hear from the lawa's wife what his spiritual prescription is. The Sherpas now incorporate several sources of medical help into their lives. From the lawas who go into a trance to identify and exorcise malicious spirits. From Buddhist monks who offer prayers and herbal remedies. And now from the hospital. Its policy is to cooperate with traditional medical practices, whatever their source, to adapt to the cultural environment, just as it does to the physical surroundings, the rigors and glories of the Himalayas. This is the panorama visible from Kundi Hospital, the peaks of Tamasirku and the saddle-shaped Kantanga. Dominating the horizon is one of the most dramatic mountains in the world, almost 7,000 meters high, Ama Dablam. At the end of a 10-minute walk from the hospital, a view of Everest itself, the tallest mountain in the world. In 1953, it brought the Sherpas their greatest champion and friend, Sir Edmund Hillary.
In my early days in the Himalayas, I suppose my main interest really was to climb mountains. I had very close relationships with the Sherpa people on expeditions, and then I started going down into their villages and into their homes and meeting their wives and children. And I think altogether I built up a very friendly relationship indeed. And with all the time that I spent in their villages, it was impossible not to accept that there were many things that they lacked.
The presentation of ceremonial scarves was only one sign of the bond that grew between the Sherpas and Hillary. Over the past 20 years, he has built them bridges, schools, and most importantly, Kundi Hospital. Opening day was in 1966. By Western standards, it seems a primitive setup. The doctors do their own lab work, urinalysis, blood counts. They interpret their own TB slides and x-rays. Each month, they see about 300 outpatients at the hospital. All in all, they serve an area that contains over 5,000 people, where there are no roads and no electricity, except for what's produced by the hospital's generator. It's a demanding job for recent graduates who also double as dentists. Part of the job is to oversee the running of 5 outpost clinics in the area, each of them sponsored by Canada. They add another 200 outpatients a month. Penny tries to visit each of the clinics every 6 weeks or so. During winter's heavy snowfalls, the trails can be treacherous, even impassable. But in the spring, when the rhododendrons are in bloom, walking to work becomes a trip through paradise. Just half a day from Kundi is the village of Tami with its small clinic. After 2 weeks' instruction, this Tami resident is able to treat the simpler medical problems in her village. She keeps a record of her patients and refers the more problematical cases to the doctors. This was one of the most serious, a pregnancy in which a sudden separation of the placenta from the womb caused bleeding during labor and threatened the lifeline of the fetus. The woman was carried to the hospital at Kundi, where the doctors faced another problem. It was a breech birth. After a few tense hours, it all ended happily.
It sounds like he has a bit of a cough, but he's doing quite well.
We were never able to take out percentages in the old days, but we used to feel from experience that probably 40% of the young people under the age of, say, 12 would probably die. Now we feel that that proportion is very much lower.
Less than an hour's walk from Kundi, there's another community, Namche Bazaar. It's about 600 meters lower, the local administrative and trading center. It has the only stores in the Khumbu Valley, but most of the commerce takes place on Saturday mornings when a market is set up here. It offers the essentials that can't be produced locally, and they have to be trekked in from lower altitudes. Penny and Jamie joined their neighbors in the weekly shopping. It's also a good opportunity to notify area residents of a TB vaccination clinic for babies to be held at the hospital. As for the market itself, there is corn and rice. At these altitudes, pretty well only potatoes can be grown. Lowlanders walk for days with their basket backpacks full. According to their Buddhist beliefs, Sherpas won't kill animals for food, but they have no objection to eating meat from someone else's slaughter. Now, the products of industrial looms are replacing the homespun, home-woven clothing. The impact of the West on the health of the Sherpas has been mixed. Certainly, the hospital and its clinics have brought tremendous improvements. This is the TB vaccination clinic for babies. The disease was once a major killer, but thanks to medical treatment and improved living conditions, its incidence has been dramatically lowered.
And his radius. And it's not superposition, but his posture.
But now there's a new health hazard. Mountaineering accidents, the result of so many Sherpas working for mountain climbers.
Almost every household in the Khumbu has lost at least one person to a mountaineering accident. There are houses around here who don't have an important person in their family because they've died on the mountain.
Western mountain climbers bring their own medical problems to the hospital, in this case, frostbite. They also bring employment to the Sherpas, who act as guides and cooks, jobs that make up for the fact that the old trade was cut off by the Chinese takeover of Tibet in the 50s. In that sense, it was fortuitous timing that in 1950, Nepal, once closed to foreign visitors, opened its borders. But the tourists now compete with the Sherpas for firewood, and many slopes have been stripped bare. In 1976, with 5,000 tourists a year visiting the area, most of the Khumbu was declared a national park in order to exert some control. It was given the Sherpa's name for Everest, Sagarmatha. The Sherpas have always been an enterprising, adaptable people, delighted to learn about strangers and novelty, and as eager as anyone to acquire such things as glass windows and metal roofing. These are some of the commodities that arrive at the airstrip at Lukla, a 2-day walk down from Kundi, and another of Sir Edmund Hillary's projects. He built it for freight, but now most of the planes that land bring in more tourists, except during the summer monsoon season, when all flights are canceled. The short runway is steeply sloped. Planes land uphill and take off downhill, so they can become airborne before the runway drops off into the valley. When Hillary first asked the Sherpas what they wanted most, the reply was schools. So far, he has built 25 in the Everest area, 6 of them in the Khumbu. Canadian funds built this addition to the Kumjung School, a residence for students from out of town. With so many schools, the Sherpas now enjoy greater opportunities for education than the average community in the rest of Nepal. At the hospital, some lessons in hygiene.
Ask them questions about when to wash their hands.
These children have never seen a slideshow before. What's needed here is not so much sophisticated diagnosis and treatment, but simple improvements in living conditions to prevent disease. One of Hillary's most effective projects was the creation of a safe water supply.
I think the things that I've been involved with, the schools and hospitals and so on, are probably in the long term worthwhile anyway. But I think maybe some of the changes on the social structure of Sherpa life and the impact of the West on the Sherpas, some of that possibly could be harmful in the future. But I know that I'm not going to be able to do anything about that at all. People are going to want to come into these areas. They're going to want to see Everest and all the other big mountains. And I think the only thing that I can do personally is to try and ensure that the Sherpas themselves at least are ready and prepared to take advantage of any of the opportunities that are offering.
One thing that has remained unchanged is their Tibetan Buddhism. This is the Tami Monastery, whose crumbling portico was once repaired by Hillary. Here, every May, the monks and the villagers of the area join in a celebration of an ancient festival, Mani Rimdu. When the traditional fanfares give the call, people who've come from all around crowd in to take part in the opening ceremonies. Is a reincarnate Lama. He was appointed as a boy when he was found to possess what are believed to be supernatural powers. After testing by the monks, he was accepted as the holy reincarnation of an earlier religious leader. He's now 26. He first offers his blessing to the wealthier Sherpas, those who can afford substantial offerings of food and money to the monastery. What the monks receive today will help sustain them all year. Now it's the turn of the less wealthy. They present whatever they can, and in return receive the holy blessing. The two young doctors join the crowd that's lined up to take part in the life-consecrating ceremony. Here, ritual foods are passed out, holy substances believed to have the power to prolong life, a holdover from pre-Buddhist days. Outside, street vendors have gathered. This is the big event of the year. Tomorrow, the monks will perform an ancient ceremonial dance drama in 13 acts. In the audience, Sir Edmund himself. This is one of the oldest forms of religious theater, a ritual reenactment of how Buddhism triumphed over the religions that formerly flourished in the East. It's thought that the Sherpas arrived here sometime in the 17th century, refugees from the civil wars and religious persecution then plaguing Tibet. Today, under the Chinese influence, these ancient expressions of Buddhist history are dying out almost everywhere but here. Some of the local people believe that Mani Rimdu originated with a brave Lama who once danced before an evil king in Tibet and killed the oppressor at the end of the dance. Now the comic relief. The old scholar, a clown figure who represents all the human possibilities for pomposity and pig-headedness. It's a Sherpa characteristic to be able to laugh at themselves, even at their approach to their own religion. While old friends catch up on the news of the past year, the costume changes continue. Priceless hand-woven silks embellished with intricate workmanship. Treasured antiques that see the light of day only once a year. In this dance, skeletal figures depict some of the lower orders in the Buddhist pantheon. The dances continue on into the night, and the next morning, the people go home. Below Kumbila's benevolent presence, the hospital now gets back to business. This is the day of Sir Edmund Hillary's annual visit.
Out here, I'd say we've got a pretty good thing this year. Yeah. Nampshire people come in droves. Yeah, it's good. Very good.
He spends at least 2 months every year in the area, overseeing the beginnings of new projects and getting a first-hand view of what he began decades ago. Over the years, he has established financial support for these projects in other countries, but well over half the international aid comes from Canada. A remarkable undertaking, opening essential opportunities to an energetic people, without robbing them of the traditions that have sustained them for so long.
Computer Choreology, coming up on The Nature of Things with David Suzuki.
These young dancers at the National Ballet School in Toronto are learning by following the example of their teacher, who in turn learned from her teacher, and so on, in a line of succession extending back to the original choreographers of ballet. The classical ballets must have undergone innumerable changes over time, but we really have no idea how great those changes were. because systems of dance notation weren't devised until the 1940s. Once they were, they enabled choreographers to record their exact intentions. But choreology, as the recording of dance is called, is a difficult and tedious business. Now, computers and computer graphics are coming into increased use, both for the recording of new dance scores and the preservation of the old classics.
Can we go from the top, please? Just a little...
Monica Parker is teaching Wendy Walker the most complex of human movements, dance. Every dance is a precise yet fluid set of moves from one body position to another. Wendy and Monica are rehearsing the steps of the cabriole variation of La Bayadère by Imre. Like all dance, La Bayadère is a unique design for human motion. Every pose and step must coincide with an exact moment in time. Rhonda Ryman is recording these steps using a complex set of symbols called Benesch notation. The task of the dance recorder or choreologist is not an easy one, yet it is critical to the future preservation of dance.
Traditionally, there's always been personal contact between dancers and teachers. One dancer will master the role and throughout her career perfect the role and teach it to an up-and-coming young dancer. A dancer can't go to a library and find a score of a 100-year-old dance. The only way she has access to that is personally learning it from someone who personally learned it from someone else. There are no forms of notation that have accommodated dance for very great lengths of time. We have various forms of notations that have been closely linked to a particular style of dance, but as the style evolves and changes, that form isn't adequate any longer.
Dance notation must record the exact position of the dancer's body, limbs, and head, as well as the dancer's location on stage relative to other dancers. The notation must also indicate how each dancer moves from one position to another. All this makes the recording of even one dancer's moves an exacting and time-consuming process.
It's terribly important, that direction from the chassé. This one must be en diagonal. Then you get change. So we need to have the balance of diagonal change.
Throughout the rehearsal, the choreologist slowly refines her score and must constantly verify that her record of the steps is correct.
As the arms come from the initial position, they just come directly.
No, they don't. From this side, all that happens really is the body change.
Body change.
That gets the new position from crossed attitude. We're traveling down stage to get to cross the other side. So we really don't need any movement lines there.
Okay.
At the end of the rehearsal, the choreologist has assembled a rough set of notes. The final score will incorporate later changes and additions.
That's it. That gets us.
The refining and re-editing of the rough notation can take months to complete. But now, the job's been streamlined by a computer program developed at the University of Waterloo. This computer is like a word processor for dance, using Benesch symbols as its alphabet.
This is the final handwritten version of the cabriole variation, which was taught in the studio by Monica Parker to Wendy Walker. The notation is read from left to right and progresses along with the music. Each frame represents a specific position. Benesch notation is written on a 5-line staff, much like a music staff. The top line represents the top of the head. Second line represents the top of the shoulders. The third line, the waist. The fourth line, the knees. And the bottom line, the feet or floor. The dancer is seen from behind, and her extremities are mapped out on the notation frame.
This is the first frame of the computerized dance score. The choreologist first indicates the time signature 2, which corresponds to a musical signature of 6/8. By maneuvering this puck, the choreologist moves the small cross or cursor to the tempo box. For the cabriole variation, the tempo is allegro. Now the system is ready to record the different positions demonstrated by ballerina Jennifer Fournier. Stage direction is first. This symbol shows the dancer facing downstage right. As the cursor is touched to a limb on the body outline, a set of Benesh symbols is presented. The dot indicates that the left foot is flat on the floor. The dash shows the right foot is on point behind the left. The choreologist then moves the cursor to the arms, and again a set of position symbols is displayed. The third line of a Benesh frame symbolizes the waist. The placement of 2 horizontal dashes on the third line symbolizes arms held out beside the body at waist level. As a sequence of positional frames is built up, the pattern of the dance is mapped out. It's rather like a sequence of bars in a musical score, except dance notation packs far more information in each frame than any bar of music. With this electronic processor, the choreologist can at last have mastery over the complexities of dance notation. Dance scores can be rearranged very easily, just as a manuscript may be edited on a word processor. When the master score is completed, it may be stored on a magnetic disc where it can be easily retrieved for printing or modification. Step by step, the dance is notated exactly, a permanent electronic record for future generations. At Simon Fraser University, they're skipping the step between choreologist and computer. The idea is to link a dancer directly to a computer. While the system is new to dance, its technology has long been used to analyze motion and in the design of artificial limbs. Dancer Diane Thompson is fitted with electronic sensors by orthopedic engineer Richard Hanna. They're called goniometers. Every twist and flex and pull on the goniometer is converted into electronic signals, data that specifically describes the position and movement of the limbs.
Seems to be working okay. Does that feel free?
Very.
As the dancer moves, the signals from the goniometers are transmitted along a cord to the computer. These signals are interpreted through a computer program designed by Dr. Tom Calvert. Using the signals from the goniometers, the computer records the precise angle and direction of the movements of the limbs. Encumbered with this electronic harness, a dancer cannot move with the ease and grace of a ballerina. But for the analysis of the basics of human movement, Tom Calvert has invented an electronic choreologist that can store and reproduce a simple dance exactly.
Until we can model human movement with a computer, I don't believe that we can claim we understand it. Dance is one of the most complicated forms of human movement that there is. Dance is essentially an illiterate art because the notation is readable by very, very few people.
But Calvert's system does more than produce computer graphics of a dance. It also translates this motion into Laban notation, another system of dance notation often used for motion analysis.
Laban notation is written on a staff which goes up the paper. That is to say, time starts at the bottom and goes up. This is in contrast to music, where time goes across. These symbols here represent movements of the legs. Left leg, right leg, left leg, right leg, in fact, in a walk. Where the length of each step, the duration of each step, is determined by the length of the symbol. Glancing at the symbols for a walk, it's fairly easy to see what's happening. Here, we have a much more complex set of movements involving the legs, the arms, the head, and so on. And this is not at all obvious unless you've got some facility in reading Laban notation. Once one gets a series of complexes like this, while glancing at the score does give you an idea of what's going on, it's easy to see it's just a very difficult system to learn. The Laban notation, as it is fed into the computer, it can be done in terms of these symbols. However, it is more convenient for most purposes to use
numbers and letters, that is to use an alphanumeric code for the notation. Each line on this display here, each one of these lines is one Laban symbol. If we take the input from the goniometer, that is the electrical signals from the goniometer, they are also converted into exactly this notation inside the computer. So whether we start with Laban or whether we start with the instrumentation, we end up with what we call a score like this. With the help of a computer-based system, we think it'll be a lot easier to learn. It will also be a lot more fun to learn.
Computers are helping to ensure that the dances of today will be passed on for generations to come. But that's not all. Soon, choreographers will be able to design new dances with just a keyboard and a screen, a computer stage for the dancers of the future.
The Periscope camera, next on The Nature of Things with David Suzuki.
If you think this is being filmed by trick photography, you're absolutely right. This is a Periscope camera. It's driven by a computer, and it's capable of navigating itself around the tightest corners that are simply inaccessible to an ordinary movie camera. It's the key device that makes possible the production of special effects in movies like Star Wars. But this is a special one. It's Canadian, and its Toronto designer is sure that it's the best in the world. The Periscope camera takes you into a world you've never been able to visit before. You can bounce, bump, roll, and drop. Short of being a pinball yourself, there's no other way of getting into this game. If you're in the business of making special effects, now you can be really on the ball. A bumblebee couldn't get much nearer to these flowers. The bottom of the lens is so tiny that it can skim within 6 millimeters of any surface, including this office desk. It can focus from 3 centimeters to infinity, giving a close-up view that would mean pressing your nose right up against an object. No ordinary camera can give this tight of focus and this kind of perspective. It climbs like a helicopter to scale this mountainous teacup, then dives into the electronic heart of the machine. From the vantage point of a butterfly, the Paracam can float down narrow spaces and maneuver around these 2.5 centimeter high components. This makes it ideal for filming models and making them appear life-size. The 1.25 meter lens barrel is an inverted periscope and can tunnel through spaces only 2 centimeters wide. You could say its magic is done with mirrors, since the camera system depends on a centimeter square mirror that acts as its reflective eye. From the base of the lens, an image is directed by the mirror up to a focus mechanism which is driven by a servo motor. The image continues to a beam splitter that diverts 8% of the light into a television camera which displays the image on a monitor. The rest of the light continues to a 35 millimeter movie camera. As the mirror relays its pictures to the TV camera, the shots can be composed and focused with the help of the monitor. In this way, a filmmaker can carefully plan his shots and store them in the computer memory before beginning the expensive process of filming. The camera system can travel about 6 meters forward and backward, and 3 meters from side to side. It can move vertically 45 centimeters and be programmed to turn on its own axis any number of times automatically. It's as if you could remove your eyes to peer under, over, around, and through any nook or cranny, then spin them 360 degrees to see a limitless horizon. The brains behind this vision are complex electronics that control the servo motors which move the camera. And the brains behind the camera is the man who designed this masterpiece of optics, mechanics, and electronics, Toronto's Scott Hamilton.
When I first conceived this particular camera about 6 years ago, there was nothing in this country in the way of what we call in industry a motion control system, which is a system whereby moves can be repeated very, very accurately.
To demonstrate the system's repeatability, a pen is attached to the camera lens. The Pericam moves with astonishing precision. Scott Hamilton operates the camera with a joystick that simultaneously feeds the coordinates of the camera's movement into the computer's memory. The information is stored for instant retrieval. The pen makes a blueprint of the camera's moves. The entire system is actually a very sophisticated robot. It's made up of 5 integrated components: optics, computer and software technology, servo motors, and mechanics. It would be extremely difficult to keep a hand steady enough to draw the same line twice. Pericam can duplicate the same motions over and over again with pinpoint accuracy. What makes this feat even more impressive is the camera's weight, 1 1/3 tons. Yet it retraces a hair-fine line without the slightest deviation. Its ability to repeat movements makes it an ideal tool for the feature film industry, which relies on models to create special effects. The monitor shows what the camera sees as it tunnels through canyons a few centimeters deep. The camera's moves are fed into the computer so that each element of the final picture can be photographed separately along the same route. As the camera retraces its path over and over, only its course stays the same. The camera never bumps or even touches the model as it weaves along its pre-programmed route. After the elements for the final shot have been filmed separately, they're put together as a composite. This is how the magic of special effects can turn canyons carved in styrofoam into extraterrestrial landscapes for science fiction films. The camera becomes a tiny spaceship, transporting us to the planets and the stars. Just a dirty beach ball, perforated cardboard, and cunning lighting, shot with 3 identical repetitions of the camera's run. First the planet, then the stars of a man-made galaxy, and finally the moonscape. Back on Earth, the Pericam's unique optical system can photograph models from street level. Architects use this advanced technology to show clients how their projects would appear on a human scale. Instead of the usual aerial view of a lifeless replica, we could actually feel what it would be like to walk down Main Street. We'd be in the heart of this Minneapolis cityscape, driving to work and living in its skyscrapers. Scott Hamilton can program this human perspective on life in a planned community as the camera glides on rollers along massive rails suspended from the studio ceiling. It can peer around delicate miniature trees, take us into a model world, and make it seem real. It puts the dazzle in special effects, the sizzle in TV commercials, and it puts you right in the picture. That's all for tonight's show. Not so long ago in North America, migratory birds filled the skies from horizon to horizon and days on end. There are parts of the continent where remnants of those enormous flocks remain, and next week we'll visit one of them, a great natural resource, the prairie wetlands.